He wants us to remain in the material world. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So you don't have Bhagavatam?
I have it like on.
Okay. So put it aside. You can take my Kindle. You could just turn the sound off. At least when the class is on, because it's really distracting. Being pissed. Welcome to the morning program. Let us know where you're watching from. Oh, it's in the bottom shelf. Here with Dr. Max Prabhu in Seattle, Washington, Louis Center, USA, the first center in the United States of America for both the non-religious and society. And continuing reading the first verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, first canto, first volume, the Delhi edition. Prabhupada written that himself with his lotus typing it with his lotus-like fingers. And yeah, that's the same book he brought with him to New York, Boston, New York. The chief engineer of the complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but it is he only who knows all the nook and corner of the construction, because everything is done by his direction only. He knows everything of the construction both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows very well in the every nook. So it knows very well in the nook and corner of the cosmic creation, although the things are apparently done by someone else. Beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, nobody is independent in the matter of material creation, and everywhere there is the hand of the Supreme Lord. All material elements as well as spiritual sparks are but emanations from Him only, and whatever is created in this material world are but interactions of the two energies, material and spiritual. The absolute personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, Vasudeva, period. A living entity called by a name chemist can manufacture water in a chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen gases, but in reality a living entity works in the laboratory under the direction of the Supreme Lord, and the materials with which the chemist works are also supplied by the Lord. As such, the Lord knows everything directly and indirectly, and He is cognizant of all minute details of everything, and is fully independent. He is compared with the mine of gold, and the cosmic creations in different forms are compared with the gold rings and necklace, etc. The gold ring and the gold necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively the gold in the mine and the gold in the earring or necklace are different. The whole philosophy of the absolute truth is simultaneously one and different. Nothing absolutely equal is absolutely equal with the absolute truth, but at the same time nothing is independent of the absolute truth. Om Agyantaranandasyam Gyanashala Shalakaya Chakshu Namanita Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna Stav. Good morning from Washington. How's the weather there in China? So, it's a continuation of yesterday's points Prabhupada was mentioning, right? That the scientists, they think that God is not better than a watchman, and just creates some things and they go on, and we don't need God. Who cares for God? But Prabhupada, as he brought yesterday, you remember yesterday's argument?
Yeah, that somebody can be a watchmaker, but he can't make a watch that can be compatible with another watch, and then create subsequent watches afterwards.
Yeah, he cannot create something that produces byproducts. So here's another argument Prabhupada gives, that the quality is different. Just like the Prabhupada gives the example of the chemist, that he can create water, undoubtedly, great art, but to use that to say that nobody created, or the water was created itself, or there is no creator to this gigantic body of water, because they were able to combine some chemicals, it's not very strong argument. You can even take it to that extent that, let's say, they do say, that there was no need for it was just chemical interaction. But who puts this chemical together? If they manufactured the water from the combination of the chemicals, and they had to put the chemicals together, hydrogen and oxygen, to produce water, then a more gigantic body of water, someone had to take care of that too. So they take side of this evolution and things. They were progressing slowly and slowly. So why do they even bother to prove that water comes from combination of hydrogen and oxygen? You just leave the two elements aside and you let them, combine. You would say probably, that to prove it, because it took a long time, millions and billions of years. So to prove that, to accelerate the process, someone has to put it there, just for the experiment's sake. But actually, if you wait long enough, they're gonna, on their own, they're gonna walk and meet. So this is a very nonsensical argument. But even if it's so, or who gets the credit? There was the scientist Prabhupada mentions that he got a Nobel Prize for the chemical evolution theory. So if it's all about the chemicals and them evolving, why don't you give the Nobel Prize to the chemicals? Why do you take yourself the praise? So this is the same mentality. If we analyze, we meditate constantly on this the root cause of our material existence, that we want to be God, imitate God, and thereby enjoy His property. We can see how it repeats itself everywhere. And scientists are not. There's no difference. They're more renounced, right? They're not so beautiful sometimes. They're not so rich sometimes. They're not so, they, give to the world. They invent this thing and that thing, and
get paid a lot. Usually.
Don't get paid a lot, right? But still, we should understand anyone, like Krishna says. It's not like Prabhupada's statements or our statement, but Krishna himself, God himself says, Namam duskatina prapadyate naradamam asura bhava bhastika. That if one is not surrendered to me, you can know it firmly that he is either of these four sinful men. The atheist, lowest of mankind, right? The Naradama, that lowest of mankind. Well, that's the scientist, and the other one is that he is lowest of mankind.
The most grossly foolish.
Grossly foolish. Yes. So yeah, the scientists, although they pose as very intelligent, very smart, because they're not surrendered to Krishna, we, immediately we can understand, oh, they're rascals, they're miscreants, and how to, and you can see that, ultimately in their activities, they don't praise God, and Prabhupada actually says this is a very recent thing, back in the days, if you go 100 years before the modern era, all the scientists, they were very much theistic, Isaac Newton, and so on and so on. They all the time acknowledged the existence of God. At least they acknowledged, okay, they didn't try to prove, but they didn't try to disprove the existence of God. Now it became a fashion. You're not a scientist. I actually have a friend in Israel. His father is a very big scientist, on a global level. He is in charge now. This year, his father he became in charge of the MIT of Israel, which is considered to be one of the top-notch technological universities in the world. So his father is a big atheist, and he told me that as soon as you speak, if you bring God, you're going to be excluded. You cannot bring God to your faculty, to university. It's immediately it's like politics at work or something like that. So it's a very unfortunate position, because these people, they supposed to lead society, right? The scientists, they benefit people materially, so people naturally, they don't question if they bring this theory or that theory. They take the theory for granted, like the theory of evolution. It was never proved. It's still a theory, but they go on and they act as if it's a fact, as if it's factual. No one ever proved it. Quite the opposite. They find so many disproofs. But because people are accustomed to accept anything, like Krishna says, anything that the great man does or says, people accept. People, they take that for granted. And they live like that, right? Survival of the fittest. You can see, especially here in the West, everyone is, so much in passion and in ignorance, because they're ignorant of the future life, and they want to enjoy this life as much as possible. So they destroy this life, and they destroy the next life. They have no future, no present. In the past, they don't even know what happened in the past. So we have to re-educate society, learn this knowledge, and explain it to others. And not in a dogmatic way, but in a way that will be, will appeal to the public, according to their level of sincerity. Would you like to continue?
Sure.
Conditioned souls beginning.
Conditioned souls beginning from the Brahma, the engineer of the particular universe, down to the insignificant ant, are all creating something, but none of them are independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialist wrongly thinks that there is no creator save and except his own good self, and this is called Maya, or illusion. On account of his poor fund of knowledge, the materialist cannot see beyond the purview of his imperfect senses, and thus he thinks that matter automatically takes its own shape without a conscious background. This is refuted here in this shloka of the Bhagavatam by Srila Vyasdev, who is a liberated soul, and he compiled this book of authority after his mature spiritual perfection. The complete whole of the absolute truth being the source of everything. Nothing is independent of the whole body. Any action and reaction of the body becomes cognizable fact to the embodied. Similarly, if the whole thing is the body of the absolute whole, nothing is unknown to the absolute directly or indirectly. In the Shruti mantra, it is also stated that the absolute whole, or the Brahman, is the ultimate source of everything. Everything emanates from him, and everything is maintained by him, and at the end everything enters into him only. That is the law of nature. In the Shriti mantra also the same thing is confirmed. It is said that at the beginning of Brahma's millennium, the source from which everything emanates, and ultimately, at the end of that millennium, the reservoir where everything enters into, is the absolute truth, or Brahman. Material scientists half-heartedly takes it for granted that the ultimate source of all the planetary system is the sun, but they are unable to explain as to the source of the sun. Herein the ultimate source is explained. According to the Vedic literature, Brahma is the creator of this universe, and yet he also had to meditate upon to get inspiration of such creation. Therefore, Brahma, or the sun, is not the ultimate creator. It is stated here in this shloka that Brahma was taught by the Vedic knowledge by the personality of Godhead. One may argue that Brahma is the original living being within this universe, and who could give him inspiration as there was no second being at that time? Here in this shloka it is said that the Supreme Lord inspired the secondary creator Brahma, and then he could go on with the creative functions. As we have already mentioned above about the supervising engineer, the same thing is applicable in this example. The real brain behind all creative agent is the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna has personally admitted that it is he only who superintends over the creative energy, Prakriti, or the sum total of matter. Sri Vyasadeva, therefore, worships neither Brahma nor the sun, but the Supreme Lord who guides both Brahma and the sun in their different activities of creation. So in this shloka, a particular word, namely Avijna and Swarat, are significant. These two words distinguish the Lord from all other living entities. No living entity other than the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is either Avijna or Swarat, i.e., none of them are either fully cognizant or fully independent. Every one of them has to learn.
You know what it means?
It's like, for example, or an example.
In other words.
In other words, yeah. Either fully cognizant or fully
I
independent.
found it only in Prabhupada's book, so that's why many devotees.
Everyone has to learn from the superior all about knowledge. Even Brahma, who is the first living being within this material world, has to meditate upon the Supreme Lord and to take help from him only to create. When Brahma, or the sun, cannot create anything without acquiring the required knowledge from the superior, then what to speak of the material sciences, who are fully dependent on so many things? Jagadish Chandra Bose, Isaac Newton, Professor Einstein, etc., of the modern sciences, who may be boastful of their respective creative energy, are also dependent on the Supreme Lord for so many things. After all, the respective highly intelligent brains of these gentlemen are certainly not the products of any human being. The brain is created by another agent other than the celebrated scientists as above mentioned. If the brains like that of Jagadish Bose or Isaac Newton could have been manufactured by any human being, then they would have produced many such brains instead of eulogizing the brains of the scientist. The scientists even could not manufacture a similar brain, and what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of the Lord. Even the Mayavadi impersonalists who flatter themselves to become the Lord are not even Avijna or Swarat. Such Mayavadi monists undergo a severe process of austerities and penances to acquire the required knowledge for becoming one with the Lord, but ultimately they become dependent on some rich follower who supplies them with the requisite paraphernalia to conduct a great establishment in the shape of monasteries and temples. An atheist like Ravan or Hiranyakasipu had to undergo severe types of penances before they could flout the authority of the Lord, and ultimately they were so much helpless that they could not save themselves when the Lord appeared before them as cruel death. The same thing is applicable to the modern sciences, also, who dare to flout the authority of the Lord. Such atheists will be dealt with similar awards as was meted out to past great atheists like Ravan and Hiranyakasipu. History repeats itself, and as such, what was recorded in the past will act again and again whenever there is such necessity. Whenever there is negligence of the authority of the Lord, the penalty by the laws of nature is always there. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita by the well-known maxim, Jada Jadai Dhammasya Rani. The Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is all perfect, as is confirmed in all Vedic literature. It is said in the Shruti mantras that the all-perfect Lord threw a glance over matter, and thus he created all living beings. The living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord, and he impregnates the vast material nature with the seeds of spiritual sparks, and thus the creative energies are set in motion for so many wonderful creations. One atheist friend argued that God is no more expert than the manufacturer of a subtle watch that moves by the delicate machineries. We had to reply the atheist friend that God is still a greater mechanic than the watchmaker, in the sense that he creates one machine in duplicate male and female forms. The male and female forms of different grades of machinery go on producing innumerable quantities of similar machines without further attention of God. If a man could manufacture such a set of duplicate machines to produce further machines without any attention of the original manufacturer, then of course a man could surpass the intelligence of God. But that is not possible. Each and every one of us, of the imperfect machines, had to be handled individually by the mechanic, and therefore nobody can be more intelligent or equally intelligent to God. God's another name is therefore called as the Asmaruddha. Nobody is equal or greater than him. Everybody has his equal number, or somebody surpassing his intelligence, but nobody can claim that he has neither any equal nor higher than him. Param Satya, or the Supreme Truth, is he who has no equal nor any higher contemporary. This fact is corroborated in the Shruti mantras as follows. It is said that before the creation of the material...
Oh, sorry, I forgot Prabhu, the mic.
Oh. It is said before the creation of the material universe, there was the Lord who is the master of everyone. The Lord instructed Brahma about the Vedic knowledge. That personality of Godhead has to be obeyed in all respects. Anybody who wants to get rid of the material entanglement must therefore surrender unto him. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita also. Unless one therefore surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is sure and certain that one must be bewildered, even if he happens to have a big brain. When the big brains surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva, and know fully that Lord Vasudeva is the cause of all causes, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, then only such big brain becomes a Mahatma, or the broad-minded. But such broad-minded Mahatmas is rarely seen. Only the Mahatmas, therefore, can understand that the Supreme Lord is the Absolute. Personality of Godhead is the primeval cause of all creations. He is Parama, or ultimate truth, because all other truths are relatively dependent on him. And because he is the source of everyone's knowledge, he is omniscient, and for him there is no illusion, as it is for the relative knower. Some scholars of the Mayavad school argue that Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Sri Vyasadeva, and some of them suggest that this book is a creation of modern age by somebody of the name Gopidev. Sri Sridhar Swami, in order to refute these meaningless arguments, says that there is reference of the Bhagavatam in many other oldest Puranas. The first shloka of the Bhagavatam is begun with Gayatri Mantra, and there is a reference of this in the Matsya Purana, the oldest Purana. In the Purana, it is said with reference to the context of Gayatri Mantra in the Bhagavatam that there are so many narrations of spiritual instructions beginning with the Gayatri Mantra, and there is the history of Vikasura. Anyone who hands over a charity of this great work on the full moon day attains to the highest perfection of life by going back to Godhead. Similarly, there is reference of this Bhagavatam in other Purnams, where it is clearly said that the work is finished in 12 cantos and completed in 18,000 shlokas. In the Parma Puranam, also there is reference of Bhagavatam during the conversation of Gautam and Maharaj Ambarish. The king was advised therein to read regularly Srimad Bhagavatam if he at all desired liberation from the material bondage. Under the circumstances, there is no question brewing about any sort of doubt regarding the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam. And later on, within 500 years from the present era, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Balabacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, made elaborate commentations on the Bhagavad Paranam with unique scholarship, and the serious student will do well to make an attempt to go through them, to relish more happily about the transcendental messages from the Bhagavatam. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur specifically deals in the original and pure sex psychology, adiras, devoid of all mundane inebriety. The whole material world is moving on the basic principle of sex life. In the modern setup of human civilization, the sex life is the eternal point of all activities. Whenever we may turn our face to see a great prominence, we see a great prominence on sex life. Therefore, sex life is not unreal. It's real reality experienced in the spiritual world. The material sex life is but a perverted reflection of the original fact. The original fact, therefore, is in the absolute truth, and as such, the absolute truth cannot be impersonal without any sense in the pure sex life. The impersonal monist philosophy has given an indirect impetus to the abominable mundane sex life because they have given too much stress on the impersonality of the absolute truth.
Yeah, there is this. The result is that men with profound knowledge have accepted the perverted sex life as all in all, learning information of the spiritual form of sex. There is a distinction of sex life in the diseased condition of material life from that in the spiritual existence, and the Srimad Bhagavatam will gradually elevate the unbiased reader to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence from the three modes of material activities, namely fruitive actions, speculative philosophy, and worshipping the functional deities as they are inculcated in the Vedic verses. It is stated as follows in the second shloka. You mind people closing the door? Not on the door. Om Agyantaranandasyam Gyanashana Sharakaya Chakshunamintayena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. The born darkness of ignorance and the spiritual master is divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Offer my doctrine, eyes for the torchlight of knowledge. Offer my humble obeisances to his lotus feet. Hare Krishna, everybody. So that was the first shloka, first verse of the Bhagavatam. And at the end, Prabhupada mentions something very, very interesting. The original fact, therefore, the absolute truth, cannot be impersonal without any sense of pure sex life. The impersonal monist philosophy has given indirect impetus to abominable mundane sex life. Yes, so why it is shown, it is seen like that the more people become godless, the more they become inclined towards sex. Of course, sinful life is godless by itself, but we should understand that what's the reason for them to degrade in sex life is not understanding the personal future of God, because the personal future includes everything. Includes eating, sleeping, mating, defending. It's all there, but it's in a purified form. It's completely different. There's no mundane lust or greed. So as soon as people giving up this conception of the personal future of God, they overcome by their unnatural desire to enjoy this material world. But if they simply understand the personality, that God is a person, God is the enjoyer of all these different things, then this propensity to enjoy this low grade activity is transcended very nicely. Anything you would like to mention, Prabhu? No, we didn't read the first one. Did you notice the last part? Very interesting. Well, Prabhupada, he says that because the impersonalists push this monist philosophy, then the mundane sex is very prominent. There was a conversation in Tehran or somewhere in the Arab countries. Prabhupada is asking this impersonal Muslim. He was asking, so how do you meditate on God? Where do you see God? Because the Muslims, they don't believe in that God is a form. They don't accept that God can have a form. So he was asking, so how do you meditate on God? Okay, you don't accept the form, but what is your meditation consists of? So the Muslim said, we look at the nature or a form of a beautiful woman. And Prabhupada, he said, again a woman. So this is the result. They don't look for the form in God. They look at the form at a woman. There's no question.
The original fact, therefore, is in the absolute truth, and as such, the absolute truth cannot be impersonal without any sense in the pure sex life.
Again, sorry?
Therefore, sex life is not unreal. The true reality is experienced in the spiritual world. So that's the original love of God.
Yeah, it's unreal because it's not connected to Krishna. There's nothing to do there with Krishna consciousness. So the more we progress, the more we understand the origin of everything. Okay. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tagora Premanande. Hari Bol.